Well, it is now my absolute honor to have sitting next to me two members of the Jack Quartet, Christopher Otto and Jay Campbell. Jack Quartet is one of the most adventurous ensembles in the world right now, performing a wide range of works. They are committed to commissioning and performing new music. Here with us is Jay Campbell and Christopher Otto. And also, if you've tuned into the broadcast at all, either this year or last year, you are very familiar with these two and their playing and everything about them. This is your second year here as a quartet?
Yeah.
Why don't we start with last year with Kotcheff? You guys were insanely busy last year, as well as this year, but even more last year perhaps.
Yeah.
What's the big difference for you between last year and this year?
Last year we were staying in Ventura, so we had a lot of driving.
Oh, so literally more driving.
Yeah, there was a lot more driving. But it was just a different kind of busy. I think this year we had a lot of stuff that we could prepare on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Last year there was a lot of things that had to be put together here.
Is the vibe different this year and all, or does it feel about classic Ojai vibes?
I think I love the Ojai vibes generally, yeah. From the 8 a.m. concerts all the way through the day, and like the hardcore audiences that are there, whether we do like the most cerebral, droney, slow stuff or intensely active stuff, they're like people always into it. So
right, and I know from last year a real highlight for everyone, and they're still talking about it this year, is the Peace in the Dark by Frederick Haas.
Yeah.
You know, amazing piece. And I wasn't, unfortunately, not there, but everyone was going crazy. Complete pitch black.
We literally just talked to someone about
yeah,
it.
I mean, it's like they're just still talking about it to this year, which is, I'm sad I have missed it. So you mentioned droney pieces. Let's begin with the morning concerts, which you guys are now doing a lot of them between last year and this year. And yesterday morning, you had Clara Anota and Taishan Sori, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what about these pieces? Tell me about them.
Well, Taishan's piece is, like you said, it's very droney. Kind of feels like you're moving through this this weird crystalline fractalized world or something. I think how did he generate it?
There are these kind of like almost Sudoku puzzle-like structures with different rhythmic cells and different pitch cells that kind of, so there's repetition on different levels, but it's a really crystalline kind of structure.
And that was similar in sound to the Anota?
In some ways it was similar, that in that Taishan's piece had these practice mutes on, and it was so it was very quiet and kind of this metallic color. But Clara's piece had other layers of color in addition, with the use of these circular paper clips, and not only the metal practice mutes, but wooden mutes and also sine tone electronic. So there's a little bit more kind of gritty, noisy, inharmonic kind of
which a lot of our
stuff.
music deals with, across the board.
Yeah.
It feels like you're zooming in on like sound itself.
Inside the note.
And, it's like you're taking a microscope to
So Taishan Sori's piece was written for you guys, yes? Did you guys work closely with him on making the piece and bringing it to life?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. Last time we played it was at Miller Theater in New York, and he added like another 10 minutes by like repeating a certain section of it, and looping it and like rearranging some things. Just for that concert. And so when we played it here, we went back to the version that we did when we premiered it in Banff.
Did you talk to him about that, or was this a discussion on going back
Well, it
or
was,
not?
in that context, it was a seamless portion of a program of a portrait of his music, so it was coming out of another piece and leading into another piece, so he wanted to kind of build in these transitions. And it's amazing. And he also significantly slowed down the tempo so that we could even more live within each sonority.
Right.
I think it was originally supposed to be 13 minutes, and then it ended up
being 30?
Almost 30 or something.
I was commenting that I've been doing the broadcast for 4 years, and all 4 years I've done the broadcast, Taishan Sori has been programmed or been here at Ojai, which is actually incredible. No other composer has been 4 years in a row, and you guys brought him here this year, so it's amazing. I love his music, and the audience here love him as well. So tomorrow morning, you have another 8 a.m. concert, right, with the Catherine Lamb.
Yeah.
Also meditative, also very spatial, yes?
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's easy listening though. It's really intense.
And how is it different than?
When I listen to her music, I feel like my sense of how I'm listening changes. I start to it takes me about like 5 minutes to like really get into this listening space, but I feel like I start to hear behind notes, and you start hearing all these common harmonics, difference tones, all these notes that like if you just played a note really quick, you don't hear all the detail, but then you hear all this like really intense, powerful interactions of all the overtones that we're playing.
Right.
And at least for me, as kind of a modern listener that's just used to hearing things really fast, really loud, or whatever, like it takes me a second to acclimate to this like kind of slow, deep listening. And then before you know it, it just feels like this overwhelming sonority that becomes actually very loud, even though we're not playing very loud.
Right. I mean, she talks about in a lot of her writings about like the tension and in just the note itself, and the climax of just the note itself, and you find that through listening to it in that deep way, which you're mentioning.
Yeah, and the relationship between the notes can range from everything from being like very vibrant and a lot of tension to like something that really gels into a resonant sonority. So like, yeah, all these different types of relationships are present in that piece.
Right. So yesterday, you two took down a beast of a program with the all John Zorn. I've never heard so many notes on a single concert program my entire life. Let's just start talking about some of these pieces. Actually, no, first talk about just John Zorn, like about who he is and what his collaboration with you guys has meant.
I think I met Zorn playing with you. I think that might have been the first time I played with you, also playing All Hallows Eve, a string trio. Someone dropped out, and I had to learn it. And it was like by far the hardest pieces I'd ever played at that point. But I think Zorn, like his music is really intense, and going through the process of putting a piece together, just learning your part individually, it's very intense and stressful, but really rewarding because at least for myself, I feel like I'm a better cellist, a better musician after that. Like it really yields personal results for me.
Right.
Yeah, it's been so rewarding working on his music because although it is extremely challenging and notey, he's always talked about how he envisions the player practicing in his music and wanting to write music that is actually fun to play and like and even though it's really virtuosic, it's like he envisions that energy that comes from challenging a person to something that's just beyond what they can actually do. So it's not so much about the actual individual notes themselves as much as the energy that you have to put into to reach that point where you're pushing yourself past a boundary that you thought was impossible.
Right.
That's something he talks about a lot too with his music. Generally, his whole approach, his whole philosophy about music, it being about actual people and not just about this abstract thing that anyone could play. He's really writing it for specific people with them in mind. And I feel the difference when I play pieces that are written for like Mike Nicholas, who was originally the other part in Ouroboros. Mm-hmm. So we've done that a lot, but when I play a piece like Ghosts, which was the middle movement of the piano trio, Mike actually premiered that, and it actually weirdly does feel like it was written for a slightly different hand.
Oh wow! Specific.
Yeah, it feels like he really
a
knows
different
all
fourth
of his...
finger.
Yeah. No, totally.
So you mentioned Ghost. Let's start with the piano trio set. We had the Aristos, Ghost, and Hexentero. Working with Stephen Gosling on these pieces, you guys recorded. I have the CDs here. Yes, is that this one?
That's Aristos.
Aristos is on Hen to Pan.
Oh,
I think.
so not on these one in my hand, but a lot of Zorn CDs here that you've recorded. So what about these sets of trios?
I think was Hexentero the first one?
Hexentero was the first one, yeah.
It's a bunch of canons. Like at this period, he was really obsessed with canons, and so it's like all these really dense, notey things that get passed around between all the instruments, and it's like, yeah, it's a really wild piece. It's a wild. It's one of the hardest pieces, I think. And
Absolutely.
then, the Aristos, I think, was maybe the next year or so, and it's a really powerful, weighty, like, kind of romantic piece, I think.
It feels like this weird metaphysical trip.
Right. And is it meant to be played all together like that? Is that an intention, or
You could
After
play
he
them,
wrote,
you could play
Ghosts-
them separately, but I think now
Yeah.
it's a suite.
Yeah, no, that they were written at separate times, but then he gathered them in this particular order in this he found that they worked as a suite, kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
Interestingly, Ghost is written for piano trio with an optional part for an improvising drummer,
Wow.
which has not happened yet. But
one day.
Ouroboros also is written for you could have a drummer on it. So Tyshawn has done
Tyshawn
that
is-
before. I've done it with Alexa with Tyshawn before.
Wow.
It's really messed up.
You
Yeah,
should have brought
he-
Tyshawn here to do it here.
I know. I actually asked Tom to do it, but I think Tyshawn was busy or something.
Oh,
couldn't make it.
And what about working with Stephen Gosling?
Yeah, he's a genius. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the piano writing in Zorn's music is beyond anything I've ever
it's
seen. Like,
beastly.
it's unplayable, and he somehow performs the impossible. He really he figures out solutions for everything. Yeah.
And the ballet of all the
Right.
stuff inside the piano and
Right. Well, also I was commenting on the broadcast. He's not on the iPad, so he's turning pages old-fashioned way, and I was stressed out in the John Zorn because like he's just like boom, 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 like he's just flying there. It was incredible. It was like a circus act.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
really intense.
So then the whole quartet came out, and you guys play The Alchemist, The Unseen, and Necronomicon. Can you talk about these pieces?
Do you remember the full title of The Alchemist?
Oh, The Alchemist, a true and faithful chronicling of the something concomitant Edward Kelly and John Dee. I can't remember the
It's
full,
like a
circa
paragraph.
Right.
1587. Yeah.
Sounds like John Zorn. Okay.
Yeah, and it's inspired by this alchemist, John Dee, and the sort of medium and the spiritual sort of seances and messages that were received from angels and things like this and transcribed. And Zorn has always been interested in the occult and ideas like this. And I think something of that inspires him, and it comes out in the music and like these combinations of these different elements. There's always extreme contrast in his music, but it produces something beyond any of the individual elements, I think.
Want to answer that?
No, yeah, I wouldn't.
I got to ask a question now because this is just a personal question. How do you maintain all that music and on your fingers while here and traveling and all that stuff and do that to the whole concert? It's incredible. Practice, I guess.
Well, luckily we've done those pieces a number of times, so you know we're used to learning pieces fast and like performing them. But like, I guess we've done The Alchemist a lot this season, and Necronomicon, and The Unseen, which is also a pretty recent piece. So, yeah, but it's a lot of shedding. We have to like just
shed.
play all the
Right.
Just try to remind ourselves because it doesn't stick necessarily.
Right. So last night we heard you guys play Schoenberg String Quartet No. 2 with Barbara Hannigan.
Yeah.
Now, this is the oldest piece I've ever heard you guys play. The piece is from 1908. Have you played anything earlier than Schoenberg 1908?
We play medieval
So you go way
music,
back.
medieval arrangements. Chris
It's
does a lot
either-
of things.
yeah.
All the way or halfway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's arrangements of medieval stuff.
Right.
But in terms of actual string quartets, it's one of the oldest. Yeah.
And what was it like working with Barbara?
It came together super easily. She's really clear. She has a super clear vision for the piece. It's also really, really easy to follow her diction. And yeah, I mean, she just projects her intention so clearly that we don't even really have to talk about
Right.
it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was magical in the performance. Like it, even though it's like super clear, there's always an element of just like her performance energy that comes across in the moment that you're just like I'm on edge at all times. So it's really thrilling.
Now, do you feel that your interpretation of Schoenberg is a very Jack Quartet interpretation, or were you just trying to do the piece honor by playing it? 'Cause, you know, it is older, like you mentioned.
I feel like I think we approached it the same way we would approach any other piece, which is sort of try to cut to the core of what is the essence of the piece, what is the composer about. So, you know, playing a piece like Schoenberg, I don't think it would be appropriate to approach it the same way we approach Xenakis,
Right.
or even Zorn in some ways. You know, I think we generally try to deal with each composer and even more specifically each piece just on its own terms, and trying to figure out what is this piece about, what is it trying to get across, and like how can we accomplish that.
Right. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. No, it was great for us to get to delve into some of this earlier stuff because we haven't done so much of the that repertoire.
Right.
So it was like a great opportunity to work on like these kind of traditional Germanic romantic kinds of sound
Right.
worlds, and it's really fun to play.
And today we heard you play on the Nussen concert, Eccentric Melody.
Yeah.
Is that a new piece for you, or a piece that you've
It is
been
a new
playing?
piece.
Oh, it's
yeah,
new.
I've never played it before. That piece was cool because it was written for, it was dedicated to Elliot Carter, who we just played the whole cycle of quartets less than a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
And it was dedicated to him, but also to my teacher also.
Oh,
So there
cool.
was kind of like a double birthday dedication for that. So it felt like the right time to play it. But it's a really, really beautiful, really nice little piece.
Well, fantastic. Thank you both for stopping in. Unfortunately, we do not stream the morning concerts this year. We did previously, but not this year. But you have to come to Ojai if you want to hear Jack Quartet at 8 a.m. playing Catherine Lamb tomorrow. You got to get over here to hear that. Thank you both for stopping in.
Thank you.